like to welcome you to the Oklahoma Second Amendment Association monthly meeting. Let's stand. We'll start with prayer and pledge to American flag. Lord, we're thankful for this time that we have during this Christmas season. We're thankful for Christ, for Him coming to be born in a manger, for the atonement that He paid for us. We're thankful, Lord, that we have freedom in Him and also freedom in our country. We're thankful, Lord, that we're able to observe those freedoms. We're thankful for our elected officials who help preserve our constitutional rights. We pray, Lord, that you'll give our leaders wisdom and guidance as they make decisions. We pray, Lord, that you'll be with those in first responders and those in the military, Lord, that you'll protect them as they defend our rights and our freedoms tonight. Bless our meeting tonight. In Christ I pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Come on in. We up good? Everything looks good there? Looks good there? How's your liberty tonight? Yeah. Not bad. I'm thinking it's worth it, including Merry Christmas. Okay, I really was kind of expecting a response back. Ooh, tough crowd. No, haven't got your Christmas shopping done yet, have you? Yeah, okay. So who's here? Who's here for the first time? Who's the first time to be at the meeting? Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. All right. Don't fret. It's a very short quiz after the meeting. Okay? No problem with that. All right. OK2A. We are not merely a gun group. We are a liberty group that just happens to realize it may take guns to maintain your liberty. And that's one of the reasons why this group is growing so well, because if we keep that in focus, all the rest of the stuff seems to fall into place like it should. And I want to go over some stuff here too. First off, last month I went into the belly of the beast. You guys remember me telling you about that, right? Was invited to the University of Oklahoma to speak to I forget the name of the group. Turning Point. The Turning Point guys for on the campus there. Turning Point USA, really good bunch, getting organized. There was, 50, 60 students there. There was probably nearly 100 that had signed up to make sure that they could get on our information and stuff, and I think that's great. Because as a matter of fact, State Senator Nathan Dahm has introduced the bill for college campus carry. Yeah. Now, when I wrote the bill, there's going to still be some prohibitions, so don't, it's not constitutional carry. Yeah, whatever, quit your whining. Here's what it is. Because you guys know how we work by incrementalism. But the fact is, I wrote in this where it's clear that if there is an event that requires a ticket of monetary value, so it's going to be like a football game, a basketball game, some stuff like that, firearms can still be prohibited in that area, because the fact is we would have to be taking on the NCAA, not alone with higher education. And you talk about a whole other new giant to deal with, that would be it for sure. So that's how that bill is going for tonight for sure. You had a question already.
Will a license be required for that, or is that constitutional carry?
Great question. It's still going to require?
Repeat the question.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll repeat the question. The question is whether on a college campus, whether a constitutional carry or whether a license will still be required. A license will still be required, and it still will be required to carry a concealed handgun only during that time. And also, it makes sure in the prohibitions, if you're not supposed to be in a building, that firearm does not give you a go pass. So any place, the firearm basically is irrelevant whether you could be there in that position, with the exception of these sporting events or events that require a monetary ticket to it. So that's a good question, because sometimes I forget stuff because it's in my head. I just may not have got it all out to you. Yes, Mr. Kern.
Any issues with where business takes place involving the public, government business involving the public, kind of what we have with the fair
Oh, okay. So the question is it going to expand out past public buildings? This moment, the answer is going to be not at this time, because right now a lot of the public buildings are so decriminalized. I'm still trying to pick up areas where we can't go and decriminalize it, and that would be a college campus is one. Also, another bill we've got being introduced, and you guys are going to love this guy, but State Representative J.J. Humphreys is here tonight, and he is introducing capital carry. That is the same thing. The firearm will be required to be concealed, and you will still be required to have a valid SDA license to do so. You guys, there's some more room back there if we need some more chairs, if you want to sit down back there. I don't know. I'll let you be the usher and call that, Anthony. Okay, that's just a few. I'm going to talk about, let me go ahead and talk about some of the other bills.
Hey, Don.
Yes, sir.
Could we, as OK2A, write a release that we support carrying firearms on military bases?
I think that's a good idea. Here's one of the problems I've run into. I've requested multiple times a meeting with U.S. Senator Imhoff, and his people just keep giving me the hassle and won't let me meet with him. So I requested a meeting with Langford and said, yeah, he's going to be at this place. I said, great, I'll meet him there. I just need to talk to him for 5 or 10 minutes. I said, fine, no problem. Imhoff's people will make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm getting a little tired of the senator with that. So I would love to convey that message to him that we want trained military people to be able to defend themselves. I don't know how many innocent people have to be murdered before you realize the no-gun zone is the most dangerous place to be. Period.
We need Imhoff or Langford to write something on Facebook that we support.
Oh, okay, I got you. With that, yeah. Thanks, because I needed something else to do. Appreciate that. Yeah. By the way, if you didn't notice, State Representative Bobby Cleveland's in the house. He's his own cheering section. That's what I like about him.
Go, Bobby, go!
Go, Bobby, go! Now, also, I posted. Oh, you got way in the back. You'll have to speak up.
Got a comment about the weapons on military bases.
Okay, well, hang on. We're going to take questions, comments. We're going to do at the end of this. Okay. If you got a question, I'll do my best to answer it for you. All right, because his was actually a question. That's so because the comments kind of get drug out for a while, and I'm trying to keep things rolling here because we're going to have some candidates showing up tonight that are running for a district, 5th district of U.S. 5th district, and some of you may have heard today that the U.S. 5th district decided, you know what, we need to impeach this president, and I'm thinking, you go, girl, you go right ahead, because I want it to be as clear as can be where you are and where the candidates are that are running against you. I think now that there's about a dozen, in fact, one just walked in the door right there. Ballard's running against Kendra Horn. So we'll just keep letting that number grow. OK2A will not be making an endorsement in the primary, obviously, because it's a big field. Also, I think we've got 3 members of OK2A who are running for that position. That should tell you quite a bit. How important this is in the minds of Oklahomans. And like I say, if Kendra Horn wants to commit political suicide, you go, girl. That's just fine with me. That's just fine with me. And I don't think we'll get too much complaint out of that. Now, also, some of you noticed, and I'm changing the subject a little bit here. Yesterday, I posted up on the web on our Facebook page. I posted SJR 16, and I took it out of the language that when you were introducing it and put it just like any person would read it, so people could read it and possibly understand it. And you would be surprised on the right to keep and bear arms, people that claim to be Second Amendment supporters saying, I won't support it. And here's what it says. Paragraph A. And by the way, this is Section 26 of the Oklahoma State Constitution. This is what the proposed language would read. The fundamental right of each individual citizen to keep and to bear arms, including handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, non-lethal defensive weapons, and other arms in common use, as well as ammunition and the components of arms and ammunition for security, self-defense, lawful hunting, and recreation in aid to the civil powers, where thereunto lawfully summoned, or for any other legislative purpose, shall not be infringed. Then it says the state of Oklahoma shall be obligated to uphold these rights and shall under no circumstances decline to protect against its infringement. Paragraph B. This section shall not prevent the legislature from prohibiting the possession of arms by convicted felons, a person convicted of domestic violence, a person adjudicated as mentally incompetent, or a person who has been involuntarily committed in any mental institution. Paragraph C. No law shall impose registration or special taxation upon the keeping of arms, including the acquisition, ownership, possession, or transfer of arms, ammunition, or the components of arms or ammunition. And we've got people that say they're Second Amendment supporters that cannot support that. Now, does that? And one was complaining, and this is what I love. It's too wordy. It's overstated. Well, how much have I talked about the laws and the rulings in Oklahoma? Because right now it's still on the books. The state legislature can outlaw the ownership and possession of a pistol. Still on the books today. Seem to be a problem? The fact is, even with constitutional carry, passed and signed and gone into law November the 1st, you still do not have a right to carry a gun in the state of Oklahoma. It is just merely barely a suggestion that you can. It's really sad, and and the funny part is some of the outsiders outside of the state are complaining that this is too restrictive, or this is because the language of controlling felons and weapons is a problem. Well, folks, felons haven't been able to have weapons for 112 years. I think we can work around this part of the issue. And the way the language is also designed, the state legislature can still, if they see in the future, say a person after 10 years, they've been clean, they've got a clean record, they've had a felony, that they would have the right back to carry a firearm. The state legislature could actually still do this inside of this language in the constitutional change. So it just cracks me up. Like I say, people, yeah, Second Amendment, and then the first thing is just, nope, I don't like it. Yeah, well, one thing about it's for sure, I've been told that before. You don't like it. Well, okay, that's great, because that puts you right in there with Moms Demand Action. They don't like it either. So
they were just waiting for us to breathe a word about criminals carrying firearms.
Right. So, and in fact, the way it looks like, and I'm not going to get too far in depth, but it looks like everyone's going to be a criminal in Virginia.
Yeah.
So I'm going to address this just for a little bit shortly, because there's a lot of discussion that comes up, and I don't want this to make it sound like all we care about is creating a militia. Folks, if you know anything about yourself, you know you are a militia of one.
Yes.
That's where it all starts. That's where it all starts. And then when we see the need, then we move to pulling together as a band group to deal with situations. Now, I am not going to underscore and understate what's going on in Virginia. They're out to get your guns. It's no secret. It is no secret. The Democrat presidential platform has made it very clear through Beto O'Rourke. The only difference between him and the rest of the candidates is the words came out of Beto's mouth.
Yes.
That's the only difference. That's exactly what they're out to do. Yep. So don't be, like I say, but so with Virginia, I fully support making the step forward to prepare for a militia. At this point, there is no need for a militia to call to arms, but there is a point to be prepared. And the fact is, we should be prepared anyway. Yes. This really doesn't change a whole lot, other than it's obviously a problem in Virginia that here's how in Oklahoma. Folks, let's don't get in the position of Virginia. Let's work on making sure we've got excellent legislators.
Yes.
Make sure that they know how important this is to us, so we don't find ourselves in that position. Because that's 90%. It's situational awareness. If you're walking out in the parking lot, you should be seeing who's around you. Folks, you should be seeing who's around that state legislature. And that's what OK2 will do for you. We're going to make sure that we have an accurate scorecard of legislators so you know who, and we'll tell you who's working with us. And tonight you're going to find out who's been working with us because, in fact, in just a minute, before I do that, but you can find out who's been working with us to make sure we can meet these goals, and keep these goals. Because you're going to see the ugliest of the ugly when this SJR 16 tries to move forward. Because it's every group will have a reason to kill it. You can start with higher ed. They're going to use your tax dollars. You can start with even some of the law enforcement groups will be out against it, which is really sad to say. Because how do we know it? Because they've been against it before. So I don't know why anything would change. And then also there'll be a whole slew of all types of groups that, from banking to the Thunder, will be specifically against it. So you're going to see in the city of Tulsa, you're going to see all kinds of taxpayer money, public money, being used against stopping your right to keep and bear arms. And this is the single most important bill there is. Because we have to secure this right. Because like I say, right now, it's barely a privilege. It's barely a privilege for you to have a gun, and the state legislature can take that privilege away from you at the next legislative session. We kind of worked too hard, waited too long to get to that point, so I'm not quite ready to do that yet. You guys? Yes, sir. Question in the back. It's got to be a question.
Yeah. The Department of Wildlife is going to have a meeting to go over a bunch of rules. They had them published. I go down to Rule 800. 31-5, and it basically states no firearms will be allowed inside an area controlled by Oklahoma Fish and Wildlife. What if I'm in there with a bow and arrow and they got hogs in there? I want a sidearm. I'm not allowed to carry a gun into an area under their control.
Let's go to the Self-Defense Act, where the law is. Because OK2A addressed this.
These are new rules that they're applying for right this year.
Rules do not supersede statute. They're breaking the law. Period. So what we did, OK2A, because of this specific exact problem, just a couple of years ago, we got this passed. 1290.8, paragraph B. A person in possession of a valid handgun license or who meets the criteria and presents a valid military ID provided in this section in compliance with the provisions of the Oklahoma Self-Defense Act shall be authorized to carry such concealed or unconcealed handgun while scouting as it relates to fishing or hunting, or while hunting or fishing.
Well, they're going right dead against it.
Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll get together after this, and we'll make sure, because Representative Humphreys is here tonight, and I'm sure he would be very excited about having a discussion with someone.
I'm on the Wildlife Committee as well.
Oh, he's on the Wildlife Committee. Doesn't that suck? Well, you got the guy here that's pretty much so. And also, Representative McDougal is the chair of the Wildlife Committee. He's not one to put up with that either. That guy is a constitutional hawk, too. So what we'll do is I'll make sure I have a copy of that before I leave, okay? Gotcha. All right, I know you couldn't hear that question back there, but Oklahoma Department of Wildlife is trying to make a rule that supersedes a statute, and that won't happen. Yes, sir.
All right, so federally, the right to bear arms is a right, correct?
No, not in Oklahoma.
Federally,
federally, yes, sir.
federally
Yes, sir.
stating the right to bear arms is a right. How is it that the state gets to magically turn it into a privilege? Didn't every state adopt the United States Constitution, and what gave any state, the right to change any part of what they adopted?
The state of Oklahoma was founded on progressive liberalism. And we've been working to change it from progressive liberalism to constitutional. And it's been an uphill battle, and most of it's been done in the last 10 years, to be quite honestly. So, sir, the deal is the state of Oklahoma has not ever recognized it because they didn't feel like they had to recognize it, nor did they have the leadership to make sure it took place. And that is changing. So how...
Was my statement correct? Every state adopted the federal constitution.
They were required to under the 14th Amendment.
Correct. What gave any state the right to change any part of it?
Sir, the Oklahoma doesn't care. That's what I'm telling you. They don't care. We're trying to make them care. They don't care.
None of them ever had the right to change it in the first place.
Right. Yes, exactly. It would be like Oklahoma. Hey, you know what? It'd be like Oklahoma. You know what? Let's ignore that 19th Amendment. It's been around almost 100 years. I mean, who needs women? Who needs women voting?
Impeachment. You fully understand. Democrats don't care.
Oh yeah, they do about impeachment.
Don't lie.
Okay, we're moving on. Now I think I feel a pulse going here. So, what's important here? May I have your attention? What's important here is that we're going to keep moving forward because I like that momentum. And in that momentum that keeps going on, we've got a gentleman by the name of Wayne. No, not Wapierre. I was trying to make it dramatic, and you guys someone just sucked the air out of the room. Wayne Hill, who has been a coordinator for the Tulsa chapter for how many years? 3?
Yep.
3 years? 3 years. And so Wayne has decided, and I absolutely agree, and especially with as busy as I am, because I've said, Wayne, it's going to be all on you because I can't do it. I can't do it. I need your help to do it, but I can't do it. And Wayne is going to now, Wayne, come on up here. Wayne is going to be, and I'm getting a new title, he'll be the OK2A State Chapter Director. There's going to be more chapters that are going to open up. I want you guys, come on, here's the camera. Is he in the camera there, Kendall? I want to make sure you see his face because he's going to be working to expand more chapters across this state so we can continue to build and grow this organization. Wayne is all in. He's a monthly recurring member. He's divvied out money of his own pocket and stuff. He was the one that organized the booth at the Tulsa Wanamaker show. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of this guy's face. I'm sure he's going to love it too. You want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank Don for how he's expanded our liberties and expanded the Second Amendment in Oklahoma. He's done a great job. So my goal is to let him do what he does best, and that is work with our legislators, with the lawyers, and also create bills. So another one of my goals is to create additional chapters, just like Don said. We have one going up in Claremore in January, February, one in Skiatook, and one in Ponca City. So everyone out there in Facebook Live, look out because we have chapters coming your direction, okay, in those 3 cities. Okay, so also I would like to see a corporate business partnership program developed. So we go out to FFLs and gun stores and other corporations and say, you know what, we will push our business towards you if you will support us. And then also another goal of mine is to increase funding and membership. I want to be able to give this man some reimbursement, all right? All right? So that's going to be another one of my goals. We should have a goal of being the #1 state of the Second Amendment protected, constitutionally protected state in the nation.
I agree.
That should be our goal. We do not want to happen in Virginia happen here, all right? And if we protect it with our Constitution, it won't. So that's going to be one of my goals, to build the organization so Don can do what he does best in liberty.
So you can see why I said, yeah, I think that's a good idea, because he's pretty gung-ho, pun intended, all right? Okay, I want to take time at this moment. I'm going to take time to recognize a gentleman that you talk about. When you talk about patriots, you can just put this guy right on the post office stamp because he's one of them. When it comes to working with legislators and to watch them as one, OK2A, endorse a legislator, and then as they move up through the system and become in leadership because he's a chair. In fact, Representative Humphreys, why don't you come on up this way? How important it is. But he made sure, Representative Humphreys, who's chair of the House Public Safety Committee, he made sure, come right up here beside me so we're both in the camera. He made sure this was the first bill heard, period. Constitutional carry. So, is it important to him? Yes, absolutely. Did he support it on the floor during the 2.5-hour debate? Yes, he did. I think he voted for it. Was that right?
I think so. If I wasn't out of the room, I voted for it. Yeah.
No, you voted for it. I got the scorecard. But folks, to have this working relationship with legislators, this is what is so important about OK2A and continue to build this. Again, you got the guy right here, and what's your law enforcement background?
30 years. I've been a probation officer 20, and then I've been a deputy for the last 10 years.
So here is a law enforcement officer who's going to present capital carry, and he's going to tell these folks, I'm a law enforcement officer, and I know, in fact, I'm taking words out of his mouth, that it's important for people to be able to defend themselves anywhere they are. And that it's important. And so the state capitol is not any different, because we've seen what no gun zones look like, right? Yeah. Right. Now, so this year, and we've passed out a few of these, but it's just that important, and we just had such a big year. State Representative Justin Humphreys is being presented the Representative Minuteman of the Year Award, and it reads, in highest recognition and appreciation to the legislator who is the most aggressive defender of a return of God-given rights to self-preservation by authoring and advancing legislation that reflects support for the U.S. Constitution and the Oklahoman Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. This year it's going to Mr. Jason Humphreys, right there.
Yeah.
There you go, Bob. I just want to say that, as a legislator, we get awards quite often. And for me, this rates up there as one of the highest awards that I've ever gotten. I got awarded a similar type award by the Sheriff's Association, and that really meant a lot. I'm a former DOC person. That really meant quite a bit. But this award right here, for our area, for District 19, which is southeastern Oklahoma. I didn't hear about a chapter. Where'd our guy go? I was going to say, hey, what about that hillbilly chapter? So here's the deal. I guess they don't want them radical boys coming up here. So here's the deal, though. In my area, this is one of the most important things. Our constitutional right to bear arms, to be able to go out and hunt, to be able to protect our lives, our families' lives, it's utmost important. So I just want to promise you that I will support this. I support Don. Don's done awesome work, and I'm just proud to work with him. And so I'm very glad all the bills, we're going to try to not only run this bill, but I'm going to get with Don, and we're going to try to get all the bills that he is running to come through public safety so that we can make sure that they at least get out of committee. So I'm not sure we can do that, but we're going to pledge to try to do it, and so we'll see what we can do. Thank y'all for allowing us to come. If we get up and have to leave, I've got another event that I've got to go to the governor's deal for a little bit, but I want to stick around as long as I can.
Appreciate you very much. Mrs. Humphrey, I want to tell you that we appreciate you loaning your husband out, because I see legislators, people just think it's no big deal. They just go up there, and I know it's a lot on family stress at times because of where they have to be and as long as they have to be. So again, we appreciate your lending him out to us for that. Okay. What we're going to do now is, so I can try to keep my word, we have a few candidates here tonight. And as I had mentioned earlier, it turns out that Representative Kendra Horn thinks it's necessary to impeach the president and listen to all the people out on the east and west coast instead of her district here in Oklahoma. So at this time, I'm going to introduce another OK2A member who's running for Congress, and that's is she back there? Did I lose her? Come on up here. Come on up here. I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm capable of that.
I was hoping so. It's good to have you here, Terry. Appreciate it very much. You bet.
Thank you. Hello, gentlemen and ladies. Good to see all of you.
We got a microphone here, so you can.
Sorry, I understand. I'm Terry Neese, And I'd love to know how many of you in here are in the 5th District. Do you live in the 5th District? Okay, great. I grew up in Cotton County, Cookietown, Oklahoma. Raise your hand if you know where Cookietown, Oklahoma is. Oh, there's a couple, 3 or 4 of you that know where Cookietown is. I grew up 2 miles west of Cookietown, so I grew up in the suburbs of Cookietown, Oklahoma. Now, I would have dressed a little bit different today had I known that I was going to see all of you this evening, but I had a wedding, a funeral this morning, a lot of other things have been going on. So here I am with all these pearls on and dressed up like I'm going to church. So perhaps I am. I spent a lot of time on the farm harvesting wheat, plowing, and frankly, helping my dad run the farm because they wanted a son when they had their 3rd child. I was the 3rd child. Therefore, I spent a lot of time working with my dad on the farm. I attended the University of Oklahoma, started my own business when I was 21 years old. I had $600 to my name and a prayer that I might make it through the first month. And in doing that, I built a major staffing firm. And I was able to purchase the farm from my father and keep it in our name because it had been through my grandfather, my dad, and now to me. I loved the idea of being able to go back to my family farm and continue to hunt and continue to fish and do all the things that we did when I was growing up. As a member of the club, I'm very proud of that. We should try to start a club in Cotton County. I'm also a member of, would you do that? I'll talk to you later about that.
No, I just think one started in Cotton County.
I'm also a member of the NRA. And I will tell you that I have a .44 revolver that I keep by my nightstand every night. And I love to come out here to H&H and shoot. I think it's important that people practice and they keep their skills up. And they know exactly what they're doing when they've got a gun. Why am I running for Congress? I'm concerned about our Constitution. I am concerned about socialism that's creeping into our country. And I'm concerned for where we are right now, especially for our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren. And we need someone that has a backbone that will take Kendra Horn on. You heard today that she is going to vote for impeachment. She's voted with Nancy Pelosi 88% of the votes while she's been there. She does not represent the 5th District of Oklahoma. And she knows it. Last week, she was here doing town halls all across the district. And people were telling her that she better not vote to impeach the president. Kendra Horn doesn't listen. She doesn't listen to her constituents. And her constituents were trying to tell her what was going to happen. I will step up and work 18-hour days, which I have been doing for 9 months already, to win this seat back from Kendra Horn. We know that we can defeat her. She is a liberal. She's a Nancy Pelosi clone. And she's not representing our views. In my opinion, a representative is one that actually represents their constituents. And I will listen to what my constituents want. And I will do what my constituents want. So I know we only have a couple of 3 minutes. I appreciate Don giving me the opportunity to talk with you. I'd like for you to go to my website, nieceforcongress.com. We're finishing up the 4th quarter and we're raising money, pulling money in at the very last minute to make sure we meet our goals. And for me, farming, ranching, guns, extremely important. The one thing that I would want to do is reciprocity across state lines, as it shows for our Constitution for every single state in the nation. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, too. Thanks very much. You bet. Only 144 beside your bed, that's all?
I've got 17 guns, but I didn't figure out how to line them all
Okay,
up.
now, all right, if you can count how many guns you have, you don't have enough, so. Maybe she's underprivileged here. Just kidding, of course, just kidding. Just kidding. All right, I wanted to do this real quick, too, before I forgot. Basically, this last Friday was a cutoff day to having bills into the introduced, and it looks like we've got about 15 with the other 15 to 20 that are left over from last year. So that's what we're looking to continue to push for this year. Some of them are reintroduced bills, a few of them. So I'll get down a real number exactly how many different bills we have, which I'm guessing will be around 20 or 22. It would be great. It would be great to put all these in about 2 or 3 bills and shove them through, but there's one holdup on that, and guess who? The legislature. That's the only thing. Just may not have the stomach to put it all through at once. So one says, "Why don't we just go ahead and do all this?" Well, it's because we work by incrementalism. It's not a secret here, folks. We take one good step at a time and make sure we get solid ground and keep moving forward with that. And also, I wanted to, while we got here tonight too, not only do we have one, but we have two, actually be 3, but 2 board of director members for OK2A. Pastor, would you stand up? Pastor Tom Vineyard's the chairman of the board. And Pastor Dan Fisher is also the vice chairman of the board. That on that too. All right. Now, there's other, I promised them because Mrs. Neese had to be out somewhere else going on. So that's why I did her early on that information. Is there any... let me just do a quick rundown of some of the bills we've got going here. Let me see my time. Yeah, okay. Car carry for a long gun loaded in your car, just like you're outside of your car. That's being carried by Senator Murdoch out there in the Panhandle because they carry long guns loaded in their car. They don't know why it has to be chambered or unchambered. It's a waste of time out there, and I fully agree. He's carrying that. State Representative Sean Roberts is carrying the bill, so municipal employees may be able to carry on the job. That's another one we've got going. Let's see. I'm calling it the 1277 bill because Section 1277 of our the Self-Defense Act, the city of Tulsa is just doing their garbage. But anyway, they'll block off a public street or a public sidewalk, and then they'll say, well, since this is being taken place, we're prohibiting guns there. We're going ahead and clarifying that streets, sidewalks, everything else is there to tell them to stop. You're going to stop doing this prohibition on our rights. So that bill's been introduced for that. Also, State Senator Bullard, we're adding the word policy into what's called the state preemption because it says you can't have a rule, an ordinance, or anything else against state law, period. But we're going to add the word policy in there because some of these small opponent towns says, well, we don't have a rule, we don't have an ordinance, we have a policy. And they think that somehow is magically going to protect them. The fact is, if we were to launch a lawsuit against one of these little cities, we could literally bankrupt one. And that's not what we're about. I find it's better to just try to gently work with them and say, look, folks, there's the word policy. You can't have the policy. Bring it into compliance with state law. And so far, a lot of you have seen, we've had, how many city and parks have we seen and state parks come into compliance simply by us notifying, saying, no, you can't do that. There's been dozens and dozens that have happened. So also there's a constitutional carry cleanup language, which has been introduced by no other than Senator Dom. That shouldn't surprise anybody too much. What is inside the bill, and you're going to see this language come out, and it's a legitimate concern. But anyone that carries a long gun, the concern is that it's on a 2-point sling, so therefore they may be carrying that gun horizontal, which even though they're not having it in their hands pointing at anybody, they're pointing it at people. And I agree that this is a legitimate concern. It's been brought up. So the bill is going to be introduced, says that the firearm must be in a relatively vertical position. So either the barrel's up or down. And as a cleat certified instructor, folks, that's what you do. You don't walk around in a horizontal position. And I understand law enforcement's concern for this. And actually the Municipal League, they were concerned about it too in their cities, that people walk around with that long gun in a horizontal position. So I don't think this is, oh, there you go, Spencer's calling me a Nazi and everything else. No, folks, it's still, you're going to be able to carry your firearm. You're going to be able to carry it safely, and your rights are not going to be demented at all unless you're carrying in a dangerous horizontal position, pointing at people, saying, "Oh, I'm not pointing. One of my hands are right here." You know, we're trying to stop this before it could get advanced too far. So that's what that bill is. Is there any questions on that? Who knows? And like I said, Representative Humphrey is carrying a capital carry. Senator Dahm is carrying a campus carry. State Representative Kevin West is going to be carrying what's called the burden of proof bill to make sure that DAs have their proof before they can prosecute someone, instead of just saying, oh, we're going to tie them up for 2 years in court and play all these games when they don't have the proof right there, and just drag people's lives through this. And we've seen this done quite a bit, and it's not necessary at all. Here's one you're going to love. I haven't even talked to anybody here about this. You ready? We're going to change the short title. That's what I expect, huh? What are you talking about, Don? Folks, this is what OK2A does to make sure we're protecting your rights. Because many of you are aware, there's the Self-Defense Act, right? There's also the 1971 Firearms Act. And then there's also this little spot in between that's not either one. And so we're concerned that it's possible a prosecutor may say, well, hey, this law does not covered in the Self-Defense Act, it's covered in the Firearms Act, so I can prosecute you a different way than I could from this, and just make this big joke out of you being a peaceful person. So what we're doing is we're taking these three parts of law, putting a whole new umbrella on it, and it's going to be called the Oklahoma Self-Defense Act of 2020. To make sure there's not some stupid little gotcha in law to actually try to hang you up on something that just for being a peaceful person. Now, if you're being stupid, you're in trouble. You're stupid. But again, this is what OK2A does. Did anyone ever even thought that this was an issue? Well, it could be. It very well could be. And like I said, we're working with U.S. Law Shield. Robert Robles, we worked on this. And when I mentioned that this is what I'm looking to do, they were like, yeah, let's do that, because, man, we want to make sure someone doesn't get bit that doesn't need to be bit. And I absolutely agree with that 100%. Any questions on that? That's a short title? Why is it called a short title? If you look at 1290.1, it says right there, short title, Oklahoma Self-Defense Act. You look at 1289.1, it says Firearms Act of 1971, short title. So that's what this is all being done, incorporated together. So again, you guys wonder, well, what else could we do? We get all this stuff fixed. We still got stuff to fix, folks, to make sure your peaceful carry, ownership, and carry of a firearm shall not be infringed. And this is one of those other ways that we're getting there. Where'd he go? State Representative Crosswhite Hayter. She is going to carry the defensive display bill. Now, some of you have heard me talk about this. It's really Oklahoma law, and like I said for a long time, we're here to take the stupid out of Oklahoma law. Because under current law, obviously if you're being threatened by a person in a deadly situation, you can pull your firearm out and discharge it for the act of self-defense, which is legal. 3 years ago, we made sure it was legal that even just pointing it at the person, because that had been a felony, because you did not discharge the firearm. Well, folks, it should be very practical. If you are being threatened or you feel threatened, you should say, hey, bud, leave me alone. I've got a gun. Go away. And hope that that would be enough for them to leave. If that's not enough, if you were to say, hey, bud, I'm not kidding. I've got a gun. Go away. Under current law, this is brandishing. It's stupid. It is stupid because, again, you're trying to stop an interaction that could be deadly. And also, we're making sure that if you have to pull the gun from the holster, it's still not a criminal act. And if you have to point the gun, it's not a criminal act. And again, deadly force, we're working to make sure deadly force is not considered deadly force until the firearm is actually discharged. Discharged. Under current law, and like I say, the court rulings and stuff, but like I say, just telling someone, hey, you guys, I got a gun, go away, you could be charged with a criminal act. Welcome to Oklahoma. But we're working to repeal, like I say, some of these types, and like I say, State Representative Hayter, Crossway Hayter, has agreed to carry this bill. It's very important, and I love her attitude with it. She goes, you know what? I may be the shortest, smallest person in that state legislature, and if I feel like I need to defend myself, the last thing I need to be doing is facing a jail time or with a DA that's out of control simply because I'm a small woman that needs to defend myself. And I like her point too, and I can pull my gun out, and I agree. With her gun out, I bet she can go 350, 375. Wait one-on-one with somebody. It's amazing how that equalizer comes out and works like that. No problem with that at all. Now, also what was introduced this week, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him specifically about it, but State Representative David Hardin introduced House Bill 2781. That's 2781, and it's the Second Amendment Preservation Act. It's basically reinstalling and asserting the 10th Amendment of the state of Oklahoma, saying we have our 10th Amendment right. Federal government, you leave us alone unless there is a federal law, the Constitution has changed that you can say otherwise. So, and again, this will be at the Preservation Act of the Second Amendment. I think that this has been introduced before. I don't know that it's ever even gotten out of a committee, but it's time. It's past time for this to happen, for us as a state of Oklahoma to stand up and say, federal government, go away until the Constitution is changed otherwise for you to be here and have your action. It should be done. So that's one of the other things we're looking at. And like I said, with other states around us doing this, with Kansas, Missouri doing this, I think it's great to glob together with states that are doing this and then expand it out from there. Any questions on that? Yes, sir.
Is that akin to the Second Amendment sanctuaries that they're doing? They're kind of the
I'm
same
glad
thing.
you brought that up. The sanctuary, I've been running this around in my head for quite a while on the sanctuary city, sanctuary county aspect. We're a state. We have a state preemption to keep this stuff from happening. So, as far as I look at it, if we're going to be a sanctuary, we're a sanctuary state. Yep. And I think we should continue to push that. We've got a very strong state preemption to stop this little bitty stuff and to actually have legislation against it. Because right now, if your rights are violated, you can have a civil action against a person, a municipality, and even the state, if the state's involved in it also. It may be time to motivate that to even move it to a criminal act. That if you're going to mess with taking someone's rights away, you better have your ducks in a row. Because it was, I think it was 1899, John Bad Elk, they went out to take his guns away from him because he'd been out target shooting. And the only problem was John Bad Elk said, no, you're not, and he ended up killing a deputy that day. He was arrested, put in jail, convicted. And of course, back then, from the day of the shooting to the day that it went to the Supreme Court was 7 months. Yeah, you're not going to see that happen now. Was 7 months, and the Supreme Court said since there was no arrest warrant, there was no probable cause, that the officer was there at his own illegal discretion, and just because he lost his life is not Mr. Bad Elk's problem. So my point of this is not telling you to go out and think it's time to start shooting cops just because you disagree with them. That's not what this is about at all. But what should happen, if you don't own an AR-15, buy one. If you have one, buy another. Because the fact is, what keeps law enforcement at bay is knowing you're peaceful with yours, but you may not always be if you're mistreated. And that's what this comes down to. And I assure you, law enforcement, for the most part, are good with that. Everyone keeps their gun pointed in a safe direction. We're all fine. And that's not the big problem. But again, the problem is, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because it sounds like in Virginia, the guy in charge of the National Guard, he was playing politics. He wasn't saying, oh no, we're not going to go out and take guns. And he didn't say, yes, we were going to. He was trying to ride that rail. And I don't know. I know a lot of National Guard people that was saying, I'm not going to take anybody's gun away from them unless they're shooting at me.
The politics I saw in that official statement from the National Guard was he needed to play the fence on that one, because if he said he wasn't going to take people's guns, he would probably be replaced by somebody who would.
I agree with that. And then my point would be, then let them replace them with someone who would, so we know exactly where you stand and we know exactly what we're up against. So it's a constitution. It is a constitution. And I mean, when you're talking about taking peaceful, law-abiding citizens who have made no threat and go door to door, or however you think you're going to take guns away, folks, what do you think's going to happen? And the Democrats say, we're here, we're peaceful. Really, then why on earth are you creating a war? Because that is exactly what this is. That's exactly the way that's walking into. And so how do you prevent a war, folks? How do you prevent it? You be so well armed, so strong, that the enemy says, I'm not screwing that bunch. That's how you do it. You got a question?
Yeah, no, this is all hypothetical.
Is it it's a question? Okay.
Okay, but if the National Guard rolls out to confiscate your weapon, the United States military is going to be about 4.5 steps behind it. And if you're going to take them on, it's going to take more than just the verbal communication that we will stop you, because they'll grind you into the ground. And the United States Marine Corps has been practicing for the last 12 years on how they're going to do it.
Okay, so your point is what? We should do nothing?
No, my point is that if we're going to say it, people like you are going to have to talk to the people in the big house and let them know that we are going to stand our ground against them.
Sir?
Not just in Oklahoma.
Okay.
But in other states, that if they pass these bills, like the Democrats are getting ready to do now with the impeachment, that it's going to stop here. We're not going to say, okay, take Virginia and leave Oklahoma alone.
Well, first off, we got to take care of our own backyard first.
Correct.
So, but as far as speculation on this, the state of Virginia, it's like Christianity. It thrives when it's attacked, and liberty is synonymous to me with Christianity. And so when it's attacked, you will see what's right. It may be ugly coming out of it, but you'll see what's right take place. And the reason we know this is because we know the history of the revolution of this country, because it was under attack. Its principles were under attack, and it had to separate from that. And it was, you never know what's going to also transpire from this. Folks, in 100 years, there may not be 50 states. There may be a Northern America, there may be a Southern America, there may be East, or it could be broken up into all different kinds of things because of what has transpired. But what we do know is that Americans have had this is the only experiment where they've really had a taste of liberty, of self-governing. In all the 6,000 years man's been on this earth, supposedly, this is the incredible experience, and it's not going to be given up that easy. There's going to be time, and again, there's going to be people that think it's just supposed to be handed to them, and they will be walked over. I agree 100%. But sir, I'm just telling you right now, it starts right now. If the federal government, and by the way, it's no secret, folks, the FBI is watching us right now.
Oh, yeah.
The Fusion Center is watching us right now. We're being watched. This whole thing is being watched right now, so we got nothing here to hide. But sir, I assure you, if you start in your own backyard and your own local law enforcement, with your sheriff included, saying, folks, I am not going to go take their guns. I'm asking them to come help me. And you're going to watch, because the federal government is still not going to enjoy that rebellion on that. And if you don't think so, look what with the Bundy Ranch. How many guys were there? A couple hundred guys held off the federal government. Could they have done more? Probably so, the federal government. But again, you go messing with someone, you go messing with the bear in their own den, you're in for the fight. It'll be a big fight. And so I'm not ready to appreciate it very much.
Hey, can I make one announcement?
Sure, come on in. As long as it's in English.
Just like yeah,
Okay.
Southern. But when you're talking about liberties and pushing back, the State Department of Education sent out a letter to schools under Title IX. Title IX was just a thing that created for females to have equal opportunities with male. So if you had a basketball team for males, then you have a basketball team for females. Good act, created softball for females, that kind of stuff. They have hijacked that for Title IX, and they've made it a gender identification as well as a sexual orientation. So they're pushing that through all of our schools. They sent out a letter saying that basically they wanted to create gay clubs. And again, guys, since we're on video, God loves everybody. I'm the number one sinner. Man, I've done all kinds. I praise God that He forgives. And so, anybody that's in sin, all sin is sin. So I'm wanting to be clear on that. But they sent this out. They sent to the schools that they want to create transgender restrooms, let boys go into females' restrooms. This is the agenda that's being pushed. So we're having a meeting on, I scheduled a meeting at the Capitol. We're getting the House floor. I'm calling all the pastors. Pastor, I just want to say this to you, and the other pastor walked out, so if you'll relate this, I'm going to give y'all my number. It's 580-239-0470, 580-239-0470. If you want to see that letter, I'll be happy to text it to you. We're calling for pastors to show up on the 14th, 10 o'clock, House floor. We're letting the pastors on the floor. Bring your congregation you want. They can be in the balcony. Guys, if we show up with 10, we're not sending much of a message. If we show up with 10,000, we're saying, hey, we're taking our state back. And it's time to do
it. You got the letter on your phone? Okay, awesome. Well, we need to make sure we get that put up on our Facebook stuff, okay? On that too. All right, now, do I got some calls? Oh,
and I'll get some cards to y'all, and that way you can have them.
I think, because I don't think we have another meet before then. So, yeah, we'll need to get that out. We're good. Is there any questions online on Facebook? Really? Are they sleeping tonight? We put them asleep? Oh, yeah, that's one thing for sure. In 1776, the British was the strongest military in the world. And the United States, I'd like to think, is the strongest military in the world, but it's just not going to be prepared against the might of a volunteer, the heart of a volunteer. So
look at the Vietnam War.
Exactly right. The Vietnam War is exactly right. I can't say our heart wasn't in it. I lost a cousin as a Marine there. But you're right. You going into some place that they want to keep their homeland, no matter how messed up it is. But they want to keep it. They're going to keep it. So you're right about that. And look in the Middle East on top of that. Holy cow!
Yeah,
all right.
Afghan army against
Okay. Anyone else got any questions? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I saw you had your hand up earlier.
I got a question about the Second Amendment preservation bill, and I might be getting some of those bills you mentioned.
Okay.
Basically, the one hinging upon the 10th Amendment.
Yep. 2781. House Bill 2781.
Yeah. So I haven't read bills that other states have passed, but I've read about them from websites and such. And from what I've read, some of these bills don't have much in the way of teeth. They've said, these federal laws are null. But they haven't said things like our law enforcement will not participate in enforcing these laws. Does our law have something giving it teeth such as that?
I read through it one time, and I don't recall that, but that does not scare me. Because the fact is, folks, how many times do I tell you, we live by incrementalism. You got to get something anchored. And then if it looks to be a problem, then you put more teeth in it. So I don't let that scare you. Don't say, I'm not going to support this if it doesn't have the pit bull teeth in it you want starting right off. But, and it may start off with just a Chihuahua bark. But again, you're starting off with something that's not agreeing with it. So I invite you to look it over. I'm looking forward to working with Representative Hardin on it, supporting it. It's folks, he just picked it up and introduced it. We didn't ask him to. That's how much of a good gun guy this guy is. Now, Deputy, you're here. How many other candidates did I have here? Ballard, you were here too, right? Oh, Roberts? Yeah. Deputy, if you come on up here, you haven't got to speak. We got a guy that's going to be running for sheriff of Oklahoma County. And you probably would never guess by his uniform, right?
Introduce yourself and go from there.
I am Deputy Mike McCulley, and I want to be the next Oklahoma County Sheriff. Our sheriff system has been about backslapping in the good old boy system for far too long. The one thing I can go back to real quick was a military man has the right to refuse any illegal order. As long as I am sheriff, if someone tells me to come take your guns, it will not happen. That is an illegal order lodged in Constitution. The sheriff we have in place now has misallocated funds, and that's the reason he has lost the jail. The deputies and the staff in our department has been ran over and abused by those that wants to go above and beyond. They get stepped on, and the ones that does nothing gets promoted. We need to step up for our deputies and let them know that our county is behind them. I guess that after election I won't have much to worry about the jail, so that's coming one way or the other. But I do still want to work hand in hand with the jail trust. They are going to be running the jail. They will be taking care of my inmates and the city's inmates, and we deserve to give them a chance. They took this because of the mismanagement, and I agree with them. I've talked to some of them, and they have said this is the problem. But we've got too many chiefs. I heard this today. We got too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Just one thing: we have 7 captains in the jail. Those 7 captains makes $446,000 between the 7 of them. That's $500,000 for captains. Why we have 7, I don't know. But the future of the sheriff's office will look bright. It will be bright, and it'll be a whole different page when I get in there. Right. And I appreciate you all having me. Mike McCulley. Mike McCulley. Sheriff McCulley 2020.
Okay, Mr. Ballard, yeah, I want you, since there's been some interesting stuff go on with District 5, I want to give you an opportunity to address that for a couple minutes here. And since he's a candidate for House District 5, U.S. House District 5, I think you may have something to say about today's little announcement.
Oh, within 30 seconds of that hitting the airways, my phone was blowing up. I think everyone was letting me know and commenting on political pages all across the state. You know, we replaced this fool with Michael Ballard and things like that. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Ballard, and I am running for the United States Congress, District 5 from the great state of Oklahoma. Brief background about myself. I'm married to Lori. We've got 2 kids out of the house, 3 grandchildren, 1 on the way. I retired from the United States Army, where I did my I did my basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where I was also honor graduate at basic training, as well as my AIT school, which was United States Field Artillery. The same reason why I joined the United States Army is the same reason why I'm running for Congress, to defend my country, my state, my family, and your family, our liberties. There is a war going on in our country. It's being waged by the socialists and their allies. Every election is very important, but 2020 is going to be so important. Do we remain a freedom-loving republic that our founding fathers envisioned for our country and for generations to come? Or do we go down the dark and evil path of socialism? I've seen socialism up front. We don't want it here. Some of the things that I will always consider, I mean, we're all here for the Second Amendment, keep up the fight. But I'm for all the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. Second Amendment, First Amendment, 10th Amendment, Fourth Amendment. Anything that takes away our due process, our Second Amendment, our First Amendment, and even the state's 10th Amendment, I'm against. I will always fight for our liberties. Some of the things that I will always consider before I vote on anything, is it constitutional? If it's not constitutional, I'll vote no. Does it raise taxes on American citizens? If it does, I will vote no. Does it expand government? If it expands it, I will vote no. The American citizens, the good people of Oklahoma, as well as the people in the 5th District, taxpayers, the silent majority, the forgotten men and women, Christians, the unborn, and President Trump needs and deserves an ally. I will be that ally. Now, I have no problem with people that started their own business. More power to you. I just chose a different path for my life. I've joined the United States Army. I'm a proven fighter on the battlefield in my military career, and I've got scars literally from the top of my head to the bottom of my right foot from defending liberty in my country and my fellow soldiers. And I don't have any problems adding a few more scars to my body to defend our Constitution. Thank you all for being here. And if you all have any questions, I'm retired, so I can wait out in the parking lot talking to midnight.
Okay, there's going to be one more announcement by Pastor Tom Vineyard, who's the chairman of the board of directors. He's going to come up and inform the membership of something.
Say something before that?
Well, yeah. What am I going to tell you? No? What?
I want to start by asking, how many of you ever came to the High Noon Club? Would you raise your hand? All right. The High Noon Club met in this very room, and I believe it started as a result of Barack Obama getting elected. And there was a groundswell, okay? That happened all over the country, and I believe that was what got us President Trump, okay? It's because of people getting involved. And what was being discussed earlier, we will keep that from happening in our state and in our country as long as we are involved and as long as we get more and more people involved. I want to give you 3 things real quick that we need to do, all right, as citizens of Oklahoma and as citizens of the United States. First of all, get people to come to this meeting. Get them to sign up and be an OK2A member. We have seen our gun laws improve drastically during the time that OK2A has been in existence because of people getting involved. How many of you have ever been down to the Capitol when they've been running a bill? You've been down there to show support, okay? So they notice that. The legislators notice that. They look upstairs and they see who's sitting up in the gallery, and it makes a difference. Secondly, go to their offices. Now, you got to learn how to do it. You need to go with somebody like Don so that you can know how to do it. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. And you'll get a lot farther with them and talking to them if you go in the right way. And then we need to get good, godly people elected to office. That's what's going to make the difference so that we keep our country. I just wanted to say that. And as a result of people being involved, and over the last several months, we've had a swell in membership of OK2A. And so the board we voted and elected to begin giving Don a modest salary every month of $500. We were also able to vote to give him reimbursement for his mileage every month. We voted to start doing that every month, and we reimbursed him, I think, was it for a whole year?
This year, yeah.
And it's too bad that we weren't able to do this a lot sooner. And my goal as chairman of the board is to see our membership increase to where we can actually give him a good salary, not just a modest one, but a good salary. And that's going to happen when all of us talk to our friends, when we get other chapters started in other places, and we see our membership grow, and they will notice that. They'll notice that at the Capitol. They'll notice it in Washington. They're going to sit up and take notice of that. And that will be what allows us to not ever have to get to the point of what was being discussed earlier. That's just what I want to say.
Okay, if you haven't signed up for U.S. Law Shield and you're not a member, you need to do that tonight. If you're not a member of OK2A, I have no idea what you're waiting on, right? No idea at all. You're pointing again. Yeah, you online there on Facebook Live, there's no reason why you're not a member. And I'll tell you what, there's a guy named Mike Jordanson from Shawnee area or Tecumseh. And this guy, life is not always fair to people. He's got some health issues that are pretty serious. But this guy not only joined as a recurring member, he just upped it again this week to double what he was given. And here's a guy that he wants to come to the meeting tonight, but he just financially couldn't do it. And you just go, holy cow! It gets my heart to think that there's people out there that will, even if it's $5 or $10 a month, will manage to come up with it some way or another to contribute to make sure that we don't end up like the state of Virginia. And again, I know a lot of you guys, you got lives. You think, oh man, I can't be up at the Capitol all the time. I can't keep up with what's going on. That's what we're doing for you. We're letting you know when it's important and what it's important about. So when you do have to get involved, your time is the most efficient. And for that to take place, folks, it costs money. And Bloomberg has got plenty of it, and he's going to use it all against us. And he's going to do what he can. You got a question on there?
Statement.
Sir.
We're to provoke one another to good works. And we have somebody online who says that they're increasing their monthly support from $10 to $50 a month.
Okay.
And we're taking that as a challenge.
As a challenge?
Yeah. As a challenge.
Okay, so someone's going from $10 a month to $50 a month in their reoccurring membership. And what we're going to do also, I won't go into great details, since we can't have raffles because of all the social media crap, and we can't have raffles even with the money way we take in the money through Square, that they're against that. So folks, what's going to happen is there's going to be some prizes coming up. That's just going to be some giveaways starting in January. And you're going to go, because we've done some pretty good ones that you guys didn't know about, plan on. And in fact, let's just run that by real quick. Who here has both your senator and your representative number on your phone right now? Ooh, see, all you guys got your hand down. You'd be missing out on a deal there. And we've actually surprised people. Actually, we just gave guns away just because someone had their stuff on their phone. So, folks, be a Minuteman and be prepared. And it only takes a minute to put them on your phone, so you can start calling them and emailing them. Okay. All right, folks. I hope that this has been a good meeting for you. With what's coming up in the next week, I don't want you to lose the real reason for the season of Christmas. Food, football, family, well, sometimes family, who knows. It's all fun, but the real reason is the birth of Jesus Christ, and I want you to have a Merry Christmas, okay? Everyone have a goodbye.
would have it. My brother's pajamas.
What are you limping for?
I got neuropathy in my feet. Gave me arthritis.
Ouch.
I still try to work.
Well, good.
Like I
Appreciate
said,
you making it.
like I said, this I can do to help. You know.
Well, just pay attention. You're on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Then you're paying attention at the moment. You're doing everything we can do.
I also talked to a couple of nice people back home back in the TV.
Yeah, and I mean, they can watch it. I mean, we got thousands of people watch this, and we need more. So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you.